Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you're doing well. I don't really have much of novelty to report about my reading. I continue to work on Battle Cry of Freedom, a one volume treatment of the Civil War, the U.S. Civil War, by McPherson. And I've got to say, I'm really enjoying it. It's really living up to the hype for me, so much so that I find myself diving into primary sources and Googling things just about, well, most recently about the South's efforts to expand into the Caribbean, some of the attempts to invade and or foment rebellion in places like Cuba and Nicaragua, trying to expand potential slave territory and with it gain valuable votes in the House of Representatives. And just today I was reading about, of course, the Kansas-Nebraska Act and how that really lit the fires of sectional division rather than partisan division. Not that some of that wasn't going on already, but apparently the Kansas-Nebraska Act really set that in motion. And then I'm starting to get into some of the surge of nativism that happened in the 1850s with the so-called know-nothings. I've been looking up what some of the, I just think it's goofy today, anti-Catholic and anti-Irish propaganda that was making the rounds. I'm sure it wasn't funny if you were living at the time and being threatened by it, but I don't know. I just think it's pretty silly. But anyway, I'll probably be working on this book for a while, so I don't know how much in terms of reading updates I'll have to offer without just being the boring lecturer like I am now. So I'm going to trot out a book tag this evening, and I might actually be resurrecting one here. This is a Historathon book tag, and it focuses on ancient cultures. That ties into the first quarter of Historathon, covers the, well, prehistory up through 500 CE or AD, however you would have it. And I haven't seen this tag for a while, so I don't know if it's kind of lying in a corner somewhere with a lot of dust accumulated, or if I just haven't been seeing it, but either way, that's what I'm doing. I think I've actually answered this one before, but it's been a number of years, and the way I am, my answers are probably completely different at this point. So I'm going to have another go at it and tag a new round of people. So, oh, by the way, it was created by Jack the Rambling Raconteur. I will link his channel below, of course. And if you haven't checked out his channel, the guy is just incredibly articulate, incredibly well read. I'm just always floored by the variety of books he's read. Yeah, whenever I start to kid myself that I might be well read, I just remember Jack and realize, no, no, you aren't. But yeah, check him out. You will not be disappointed. And with that, I'll get into the prompts. Okay, prompt number 1, the Romans. What books/writers or genres are your bread and circus? In other words, what do I go to when I'm looking for something entertaining to distract me when I really should be focusing on something else? Gotta go with fantasy and science fiction. With fantasy, I'm a Tolkien freak. Anything Tolkien will do. Even books about Tolkien, literary criticism will work for me. And science fiction, my favorites tend to be books that deal with the immensity of geologic timescales or even cosmic timescales. Examples might be, say, Olaf Stapledon's Star Maker or Stephen Baxter's Zealey books. And another one I've got an example of here, Stephen Baxter's Evolution. Great book I highly recommend that deals with millions and millions of years. So, yeah, when I'm looking to have some fun, be distracted, that's what I go for. Prompt number 2, the Sumerians. What is a work you read many years ago but still appreciate? Okay. Kind of on a Civil War kick here, but gotta go with Michael Shara's The Killer Angels. Now, this is actually historical fiction about the Battle of Gettysburg. And I happened to pick that up at Walmart. I believe it was in 1993. Just because I'd seen some Civil War documentaries on TV and was looking for something to read, and it looked interesting enough. And up until that point, I was very math and science oriented. And I'll just say my history teachers to that point hadn't been very inspirational. And reading The Killer Angels, combined with my family's visit to Gettysburg that summer, really ignited an interest in history for me. So that's why I say I read it many years ago and still appreciate it. I mean, it's not that it's not a quality book, it is, but it's just more of a personal appreciation for me that it kind of stirred up that interest. So, yeah, moving on to prompt 3, the Shang, it's in the Chinese dynasty, I guess. What is your favorite non-example to pillory? Okay, I think Jack explains that what he meant by this prompt is that Confucius was very fond of criticizing certain kings during the Shang dynasty. So readers being invited to tear into books they're not particularly fond of, I suppose. And this isn't really the prompt for me. I tend to be fairly positive about most of the books I read, even things I'm not especially wild about. I kind of give the it's not you, it's me, and I really kind of mean it. And even a book that I really didn't like, I don't hold a grudge. I kind of just forget it. I mean, it's hard for me to even recall a book I really just despised. So I'll just talk about genres I don't care for, I guess. I'm not fond of Westerns in general. I like reading about the historical American West, but I'm not really wild about any fiction set in the romanticized version of the West. And I guess I'm not wild about the romance genre, especially if it runs to smutty. That stuff just offends my delicate sensibilities, I suppose. Yeah, I'm really delicate. But yeah, enough of that. Moving on to prompt 4. Early Basketmaker. Name an early work that points the way to later monuments. Okay, so an early lesser known or lesser ballyhooed work of a writer that looks forward to their greater works. And I really had two come to mind for this. If I can get my e-reader figured out here. You might end up with an edit in here if I don't. There it is. Okay, first I'm going to go with, if I can get rid of the glare here, Gene Wolfe's The Fifth Head of Cerberus. I don't want to tell you too much about the book. I'll just say that it's a novella where he is beginning to deal with a few themes that we see crop up in his opus, The Book of the New Sun. And I will also talk about Notes from Underground by Dostoevsky. And of course, it's an earlier work that's about a charming fellow sharing his thoughts on life, the universe, and everything. And in some ways, it looks forward to at least certain characters from his great works, like Crime and Punishment, Demons, Brothers Karamazov. So, yeah, those are the two that popped into my head. All right, prompt number 5, The Babylonians. What book did you expect to be impenetrable but found quite easy to sink into? And I think Jack meant this to refer to the fact that Babylon, despite its impressive walls and everything, was rather easily taken by Cyrus. So, yeah. Got to go with Dante's Divine Comedy. And this might not be the best answer. I mean, it was still a challenge, but something about it just clicked for me. Maybe it's because I was raised Catholic and have a real interest in Catholic theology and history and medieval history. And yeah, I just didn't struggle with it nearly as much as I expected to. Here we go. I have Inferno. Got some William Blakeish guy there doing sit-ups or something. Actually, I think that's from the Seventh Circle, if I recall correctly. Someone's getting a little toasty. And got the Purgatorio, my favorite section. I always thought this looked like Zeus getting fresh with a certain infamous tradeswoman from Babylon while she's trying to yoink a crown off of the head of her own multi-headed steed, but actually it's from Dante's crazy vision that he has in the earthly paradise at the peak of Mount Purgatory. But yeah. And there's Paradiso. Don't quite remember where that image occurs. I don't know if we're zipping around the Empyrean here, beholding beatific visions, or if we're about to spell something out in Latin in the fifth celestial sphere, or whichever one it was. I don't know, but there it is. Divine Comedy, that's the one that's, well, I won't say easy. It wasn't nearly the struggle I expected it to be. Okay, prompt number 6, The Persians. How do you organize your bookshelves? Not very well. Place where I'm currently sitting is a finished basement. It's kind of my den, man cave, whatever you want to call it. And I have some bookshelves down here, but not nearly enough to accommodate my book collection. I really need to either buy or build more. And I do what I can. A lot of my books are stuck in dresser drawers or on closet shelves or in rubber totes. I try to keep like a history bookcase and a set of theology closet shelves and, a rubber tote that contains classics from a certain century, but there are no hard and fast rules. So, yeah, don't organize very well. I do not have the bureaucratic acumen of the Persians. Prompt number 7. Ishango Bone of Middle Stone Age Africa. I guess that was, I think Jack said it was a bone with what are thought to be numerical markings. There's debate over what they were used for exactly, but it sounds interesting. I'll have to look that up. But the question is, how does the length of a book affect your reading experience? Well, the non-answer would be it depends on the book. I don't like bloat. I don't like a lot of flair. I mean, I like good tight writing, especially in fiction. I'm finding more and more the older I get that most really long novels aren't worth the time I took to read them, even if they are pretty good. So, yeah, I try to judge by the writing rather than the length of the book, but I would say that the older I get, especially, the more that a big, hefty book at least prejudices me against it. Yeah, I guess that's what I'll say. Not a hard and fast rule, but I'd be lying to claim there's absolutely no effect that the length of the book has on my enjoyment. So there you go. Prompt number 8, the Huns. How do you read/pack books while traveling? Well, if I did any traveling now, I would just take my e-reader. That'd be the easiest. Back in the day before I had e-readers, I would just throw a few books in my bag with my clothes, read whenever I had time, usually before I was going to sleep at night. So I don't know what else to say. I don't have a special book luggage arrangement or anything like that. So, yeah, maybe not the most satisfying answer, but there it is. Prompt number 9, the Aurignacian Culture. I guess that's the cave painters. What are your favorite pop culture references to ancient cultures? I thought about this, and there were a few things I could say, but the thing that kept coming to mind was the silly Stonehenge song from This Is Spinal Tap. Enough said. If you know, you know. I will link a video of it below if you're not familiar. But I'll just say the thing still makes me laugh. And there are probably better pop culture examples, but that's just what was dominating every attempt to think of one right now. So there you go. And prompt number 10, the Minoans. Establish trade routes and tag some booktubers. Okay, as always, I'll just say this is absolutely open to anyone who is interested. I think it's a very creative tag. Good job to Jack, certainly. But I will name, with absolutely no pressure intended, I'm just naming these people because I know they have an interest in history. Mike from Bibliophile Bookscape, Derek Green, and Patrick from Patrick's Book Reviews. I'd certainly love to hear your answers if you're in the mind to do the thing. So with that, I'm going to bring this one to a close. I'm going to bypass the hobby update because I think I'm going to be doing a little bit of a mail haul sometime next week, and I should be finished with my Lego project by then, so it'll be easier to just show it with that video. So till next time, take care. Hope everyone has a great weekend, and hope we can, I was going to say see each other again, but it's not exactly what happens here, is it? I'd love to have you back, certainly. But yeah, thank you for joining me, and later days.
But am I not turtly enough for the Turtle Club?